Hey, and welcome to Co-Creating with AI. I'm Martin, and with me as is Rasmus. How are you today, Rasmus?
Good. Some bit too much legal stuff that is sometimes part of our jobs this week, but can't complain. It's all good stuff. But I'm tired of gonna have to get myself in the mode for
Yeah,
being creative and co-creative here. I think.
awesome.
How are you?
I'm good. Enjoying the weather, enjoying training in the mornings, and also I was at the AI meetup yesterday, just listening to. This was the first meetup I was to where there was just like a big mix of both enterprise and techies, and that was kind of fun energy actually, with the people being equally interested in, like, no matter where they were from, some from university, some from companies, and both enterprise and startups, and both men and women, like more than 50% women in the crowd.
That is good for like I guess a tech event. That would
Yeah.
be like I mean I guess that makes sense that AI would be an equalizer because
Hmm.
it's like it feels very human, right? And there's like just conversation. I mean I could even imagine that I don't know, but it definitely like 50-50 thing like equally attractive to both genders or all
Yeah,
genders. Sounds
and all
sounds
ages
really cool.
as well, and like there was there are artists there, and there one I got a LinkedIn request from a professor in political science afterwards. Like, there's so many different kinds of people interested in AI.
Yeah, it's actually I think like could be a really like big kind of low level, like general societal change that all of a sudden everyone has access and uses technology like much more. A
Mm.
little bit like from what I've heard is that podcasts as format for sort of learning
Mm.
really has like democratized education in many ways that like truckers who are driving listen to podcasts when they go and like
Mm.
basically knowledge becomes much more accessible even though it was already online, but most people don't want to sit in front of the computer and like look at a lot of web pages and read long articles,
Yeah.
whereas both voice and conversation, etc., AI could really like enable that, I feel.
Mm. Have you seen anyone that actually got access to the new voice function? Like, in all of social media, I've seen zero people apart from the OpenAI team talking about having access. I think their rollout is pretty slow right now.
Yeah, I mean, probably what they did was like Google is going to have their event
Yeah,
tomorrow. They're
yeah.
unleashing their assistant. They probably have Intel, and
Mm.
then they wanted it to look like that. That's been their strategy, right? The only way to kind of try to stay ahead of Google with all their advantages is trying to like really make Google look sort of bad and behind as a brand, as technology
Yeah.
company. But yeah, the only I've heard is like podcasters, etc., who've had access, but they didn't say the. So I listened to like BG Squared and Bill Gurley, who's like the I think the Benchmark founder.
Mm.
He basically was talking about that he'd used it, but that it wasn't as good as in the demos.
Mm.
So that's always the thing, right? Well rehearsed demos.
Yeah.
That's like the that's the hallmark of AI launches. Even though they did it low key, they probably just made it seem like they did it low key and like relaxed, but it was probably like extremely well rehearsed. The use
Mm.
cases, right?
I saw or I listened to this morning to the interview with Sam Altman from the same day that they launched GPT-4o, and one of the small things that I picked up on, which was an interesting question, where he had a perspective, was that, like, 5 years from now, do we want our AI assistants to be able to take the role of us? Let's say if I text you, Sam Altman wants it to be very clear if the response is from you or from your AI assistant. So he doesn't want to create cyborgs where I don't know, am I interacting with Rasmus or with the digital ghost of Rasmus?
Yeah.
And although your assistant may know so much about you that they might provide um, like an informed response and maybe have more time to actually respond to what I
Yeah.
want to ask. But took the standpoint that he wants it to be clear, like no. To I injected the term cyborg there to like for to mean a person that sort of melted together with their fused together with their digital assistant, so you don't no longer like can separate man and machine. But where are you on that? Like, which would you prefer? Which future could you envision being the most beneficial for us?
No, but I agree with that. And I also think that's where regulation is going to go. I really think there's going to be, I mean, of course, it's going to be hard to enforce, but regulation where, you have AIs pretending to be human.
Hmm.
I really think so. That's where regulation will go in the end, especially with like, yeah, I mean, all the kind of risks from it. And I think just from a personal point of view, like what I want is a team of agents, that can do things for
Mm,
me, with me, and maybe I can delegate things for them to do autonomously, hopefully over
mm,
time, more and more autonomously, as we've spoken about here. But then I want them to act as my executive assistant or my,
mm.
so it's still not me. I don't want them to pretend and go out and be me.
No.
I want that hard coded kind of in them that they can't,
Yeah.
so and I want to know who did an action. I want to be able to track it, etc. If,
Mm.
if something goes wrong. And so I
And
think that's a very reasonable thing. And I'm sure I've seen, I don't know, sometimes Sam Altman makes up kind of a counterpoint
mhm.
that's not really like that established. Like, I'm not really sure how many people speak about that they want an AI pretending to be them and
No.
online doing things for
No.
them. Yeah, there's some stuff with like being able to record a podcast without, by just writing, etc. So there's some of that, but I'd say the most kind of prominent narrative is AI as, its own thing
Mm.
working with us, and I think that's the main part of it.
Mm. Last week I heard a use case for cloned voices, which is fairly good actually. There was a YouTuber doing YouTube videos about AI said that he's gotten some criticism for his AI voice, so he made sure to clone his voice properly. And the reason why you use a clone is that he has Parkinson, and this was his way of stating it, that the logistics of him producing YouTube videos, um, respecting that what Parkinson as a disease brings to the table is just too burdensome. Like, so the AI voice clone is actually what allows him to do YouTube videos at all. And that's a really good use case if
Yeah,
that's the case.
yeah, and also like if he wants to do it in multiple languages, right? But as him,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I think that's like a very valid thing as well, because but I don't think he would want an AI that thinks up the what to say,
No.
plans it, records it, so to say,
Mm.
generates a video of him speaking in
Yeah.
Mandarin without him even knowing it, or that's I don't think that's where he would want to
Yeah.
go, even if that would get him more views. Maybe some people
Yeah.
would want to do that, but I don't think most would. But maybe he would want to
Mm.
record it and have like write it and then have it produced in many languages and
Mm.
still him speaking it. I don't really know, but it seems
However,
like this.
I really want to have an AI assistant that presents the research in the form of a video. If they are
Yeah,
researching something, to make a video of it rather than long lengths of texts that I have to read, and to make it engaging and fun, and but to do it as this like I'm making this as an AI um, that have done research on this topic.
yeah, and that's, I mean, that's like, I don't even think it's that many years in the future where like you get an invite from your AI research assistant to a video call,
Mm.
and you go in and they present a deck for you, and
Hmm.
maybe you go into Miro together and it explains and shows things and builds
Yes.
and you have discussions, and like and there's actually video, so that AI is like you've chosen an avatar,
Mm.
or it's like it could be James Bond or whatever you're in, like. floats your
Mm.
boat.
Yeah.
And that will be like, it's very, it's not only in like, it's not fully comfortable in me, to be honest. Like that will feel like speaking to an AI that
Hmm.
looks and feels like a human being is
Yeah.
probably not that far away digitally. In the
No.
real world, like robots, etc., that's probably, I don't
Mm.
know, a long time in the future before an iRobot, um, but that's probably not that many years away,
No. No.
actually.
And I mean the digital avatars are scary now. How like um, there's one company doing avatars called Synthesia. They were the first one out in the market, and then like a lot of other companies like Hagen, they caught up to Synthesia, and for 6 months it was almost like Synthesia's old avatars were lagging behind, but now like a few weeks back they came up with their new version. But already Microsoft Research have an unpublished digital avatar technology, which is where like they can make a single photo come completely alive based on just provided like audio provided, show like where the avatar shows emotions and a
Mm.
very lively body language and all of that.
Oh wow, so they actually, but then they have a few set avatars, or do you actually,
No, it's
is the avatar generated
any
from the voice?
yeah, any photo with the body language and emotions
Ah,
generated
okay.
from the emotions in the voice.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's similar to the when I had like a presentation in London a month or two ago.
Mm.
Then I showed, oh, what's it called? It was I think it was the image something from Alibaba. It was basically
Hmm.
image to audio.
Yes. Yeah.
So they made like Mona Lisa sing
Yeah. Yeah.
and sing a song, and that then you really had like the emotional expression as well.
Hmm.
See, I
Hmm.
think the only input was like a picture and the song,
Yeah.
and then that was, and that seems like
Yeah.
along
That's
these lines,
that.
right?
I think that was I they very similar. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm.
Okay, so we had to stumble into that, and I think that's funny. Have you been following the Scarlett Johansson drama on
Yeah.
Twitter? Yeah, and it's interesting. It's funny
Yeah.
for those who are less on Twitter than I am. From like the drama is basically this, that the Sky voice, the one they use in all the demos of GPT-4 Omni, the new model, sounds a lot like Scarlett Johansson, and Scarlett
Mm.
Johansson was the voice in the movie Her. And apparently, they've been approaching Scarlett Johansson. She came out with a statement and and trying to get her to be able to use her voice, and she said no. And now
Mm.
it comes out, and that's her voice. And Sam Altman like posts her
Yeah.
as the release message, and
Yeah.
now it's getting so much kind of flack for this,
Yeah.
so much criticism for basically mimicking, stealing her voice, kind of.
Mm.
And I think even Andrei Karpathy, like one of the, I don't know if he was a founder, but he was senior at OpenAI, and then before that at Tesla.
Mm.
He also posted like you thought the killer kind of AI app was something, and then he said when it really was Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
So there's a whole kind of,
Yeah.
but I think that's interesting, like very interesting kind of
Yeah.
situation there.
And I think he issued a not a legal statement, but a more like thought through statement on Twitter now, where he said that where like basically he denies the public view of the timeline and says that the Sky voice was recorded before he approached Scarlett Johansson and was not intended a likeness. And maybe I think he has talked to lawyers now and realized that there is a lawsuit risk, like a real risk of a lawsuit, and that like that tweet is probably their defense position if there's a lawsuit. I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah, probably. But it's yeah, it's really like, and I think that it's a really interesting point given also what you've been working on and what we're saying now here
Yeah.
with like digital avatars, that the killer app might be her. It might
Yeah.
be the just digital, like just that pure kind of AI that's able to interact with you through your different media, and
Mm,
that's really what they're going for.
mm.
um but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
It's really interesting how in that version of future AI tech, how minimalistic the user interfaces can be. If you see watch the movie again, look at the like actively look at the user interfaces, they are super minimalistic, and they because they like there's no longer need for a mouse and keyboard or a mouse cursor because you just talk to the computer, and like the screen is for displaying information sometimes, but when the AI is talking there's just like a bubble moving, a lot like the OpenAI's app. and
Yeah.
uh, I think that's one of the promises of voice technology, like you said, with uh, to release us from keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, and release us from the screens when we're not needed,
Yeah,
right? So we look at the
yeah.
screen where there's something we should see, and also like looking at the result of something on the
mm,
screen is very
mm,
different from trying to get that result via screen. You know, if
yes.
you just like imagine you're creatively designing something
mm,
and then it shows up on the screen and you see it and then you talk and then you iterate, right? You don't have to like click up all the apps, log into all the places. You don't have to like drag all the boxes, and it's like shortens down like the attention that's needed on the screen.
mm,
And I also feel like, yeah, I mean maybe with AR as well, that's really going to be able to keep us more kind of here,
mm,
less like absorbed into the screen.
yeah. My biggest lesson learned from Kindship is to not try to make the output from the LLM perfect, like in the first try, because that's to make an LLM robust is one of the hardest things. It's like going against gravity, and that I wasted a lot of time trying to achieve perfection when I realize now how. Um, like one of the good things about the chat interface, although I hate it as a UI experience, because it puts, I think, too much of a learning threshold on the user. What it brings to the table is the idea of iteration. And you ask the AI for something, you see the result, you ask it like that, you can say this is crap, or can you make it more professional sounding or less pompous, and they use less lofty terms, and you get something back, and then you iterate, and then you copy paste the final version, and you just edit it by hand, and even edit your questions if you couldn't do that in if AI chats where you can't edit your questions and
Mm,
run them again are just hopeless. You even have to iterate on your own side of a conversation
yeah.
and to make the end result good. So whatever UI paradigms that we come up with, where um, to replace chat as the main AI interface, it needs to like stay iterative.
Yeah, I think that's and I mean chat in the form of text, like written, and voice are both like conversation. Like they're both conversations. It's just different media. It's voice or
Mm,
text. And conversation is definitely iterative. I wonder like
mm,
what, and then the question is like visually, what is the equivalent visually in like a visual interface of conversation? And another question, I guess, is like, what is the alternative? Like, what are other iterative processes apart from conversation, right? And they can be like
yeah,
different direct UIs, like buttons, etc.,
yeah,
like that iterates on the result, and drag handles and stuff. Linus of Notion, he's released a bunch of those things, like lengthen
hmm
the text by dragging, and
yeah,
there's different ways to do it. But I think that, and I think like the visual, that's where the visual interface and like the phone and the computer and the mouse and the keyboard
mm,
might stay around for quite a bit, and maybe
mm,
forever, or touchscreens or whatever, because you can like spatially visually like
mm,
spatially and visually do things in order to iterate. Like
yeah.
drawing is iteratively, right? You draw something, then draw a little else, and then you erase it and let it.
Yeah, especially in like collaborative Figma,
Yeah.
it really is like a conversation. Imagine using Figma with an AI that also can move around stuff, or just like a video editor where you start off with the raw material, you look it through with the AI, and you just have a conversation like, "Wow, this part is good. Let's keep this. no, this is like this is takes too long time to watch. Let's cut this down and like let's skip, like just to have a voice interface to a video editor where the AI is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, like producing a um, even a raw cut, a rough cut
Mm.
from the start to work from, and then you iterate on it together with a voice interface.
Yeah, I think that's one part of it. And also, like, I imagine that video editor, you just drag it, like, oh, this part, let's expand that. And then the AI
Yeah.
fills out, kind of,
Hmm.
makes it longer
Yeah.
and gives suggestion how to like improve that part of the conversation. Or
Mm.
you shorten it, or you kind of drag in a picture into a movie, right? And then you're like, okay,
Yeah.
let's continue here. What would happen if they move into a forest? You
Yeah.
drag into the forest, and then like spins. I
Exactly.
mean, those things are going to be. So I think
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe
I would
even
definitely.
imagine even with like the vacation video, and you're telling Ada, "I'm so sad I didn't get a shot of the hotel," and the AI is like, "Did it look something like this?" And yeah,
It's
yeah,
going to be creepy. It's like what
it was
really
it was
happened.
blue, not red. Oh,
Uh,
now it's blue. Yeah,
I think I had like like this. I'm bigger than this, or like
yeah,
I think I'm taller than that.
yeah.
Uh,
No, but I, yeah, all of this is really like this is why we initially got inspired to start a blog, right, with co-creation with
mm.
AI as the main mode of interaction, and it still holds. And I think maybe it's like hope, or I mean, hopefully, it holds because we all know, like if when co-creation is no longer what is needed, it means that the human is out and the AI is doing the work. And yeah, it's not that the AI is no longer needed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so. I'm still not like. I'm still not worried about that. I really think that will be like. Like the AI will definitely take over doing a
Mm,
bunch of things, and we won't have to do it. But that will be like a good thing. Most people will feel, I think,
mm,
after like, or at least, I mean, looking back, coming
mm,
generations will be like, I'm happy I don't have to do that,
yeah,
right? I'm happy I don't have to plow the actual field.
yeah,
Good with a tractor, that
mm,
kind of feeling. And then the other thing is that yeah, I mean, I just really feel that I'm looking forward to be like being able to do much more
mm,
by having like, and everyone being able to do that by having like much more of a team around them.
mm,
That's that future I really believe in. Like, but we were also talking about like pre-chatting about like on voice and on what's happening here and Omni and GPTs and like what this means
mm,
for apps and software. And I think that's like an interesting thing, just like for you as you're considering like
yeah.
how to move like to the next step with kindship. Like how are you thinking about this now with Omni in the free, like it's free, quite a few requests in the free version of ChatGPT, right? You can use the
Mm.
new Omni model and chat
Yeah,
talk,
yeah,
and I
it's
mean
like
talk to.
20 messages per 3 hour or something, and for the free tier. And it means that the all the GPTs are available for free, and that opens up I think the GPT store as bigger platform, like, with a larger audience. And also, like, just that it means that instead of building a voice agent for or a voice interface for my AI agent, I could just use, like, have a backend that is open up as a tool for a GPT, and then I get the voice interface for free. Because that's a really expensive, like, real time voice is super expensive. The voice startups that exist now, we talked about them in an earlier episode, and I have a list here. They are Vappy, Retail, Synthflow, and Bland are, like, they are. I think they're all four of them are Y Combinator startups or something. Now being, like, hugely disrupted by GPT-4o. Like, if you want to use them with intelligence as well, like reasoning about how the, like, an LLM that is actively responding instead of providing your own. There, like, Vappy is $12 per hour, as a
Wow.
name, and it's crazy expensive. No, like who wants to pay $12 to talk to an AI for an hour? And that, unless it's a professional use case or a therapist where you really need that, like that, and that's not the use case they envision. They envision the AI calling someone up and canceling their haircut appointment or something like that. But still, it's and with Kindship, I've accepted that the server that I can run one assistant on costs something like 60 cents per an hour. But still, that's like, if you create a really addictive experience, private users are gonna like talk to that AI maybe a couple of hours per day or more, unless it fails. But in a winning case where it succeeds, um, then usage is going to be like, the usage cost is going to be something like 20 or 30 or $40 per month, and and then the company needs to make money on top of that.
Yeah.
So like, and then it becomes just too expensive for to be a mainstream product. So voice is actually a really really tricky problem to solve right now in terms of just the cost of it. And so all of this is just as a backgrounder to my sort of realization that uh, if if GPT-4o can be used as a voice interface, no matter if it's through GPTs or through an API, it really opens up for a lot of more voice applications for other services as well.
Yeah, I mean and I think like from what I've heard, and I don't know have the data of course, but is that the GPTs have not been like, or just as the plugins before them to ChatGPT have not been like a roaring success in terms of usage. That's what I've
Mm.
heard, but
Mm.
I'm not. I don't know. Do you have any? Do you have you heard the same?
Well,
Like similar?
they they have OpenAI is very proud of one business case at least, which is Moderna, the COVID vaccine company.
Yeah.
I don't know how big organization it is, but apparently they did a 6 month trial where they really like tried to get everyone to use GPTs and OpenAI Enterprise, ChatGPT Enterprise, and they got something like 40% active users or something in the company, and no, it was even like 40% of people created their own GPT for some reason,
Oh
for
wow.
something. So they got 750 GPTs created in the company, and a lot of usage on them. And for example, the legal department made two GPTs, one for compliance and one for agreements, and they saw that there in the legal department they saw 100% adoption rate. Like everybody, like nobody did work without using those GPTs after they were
Yeah.
created.
Oh wow. Okay. Because so then that's like a promising like baseline. Because what I
Yeah.
think is with GPT-4o is now you are enabling the GPTs really through voice,
Mm.
like through a natural voice interface.
Hmm.
So you could argue that that store is filled with the first like really good set of voice apps.
Hmm.
That's one way to argue it. Like,
Yeah.
so okay, so now it was chatbot apps kind of, but we haven't really had great voice apps ever before because there hasn't been a great interactive voice experience.
Mm.
We have had chatbots before. Okay, they haven't been as smart
Mm.
or as capable or had as many tools, but we've never had that. So, for example, you don't have Duolingo where you talk to Duolingo and you just have it on your phone and like you're speaking like on the way to work,
Mm.
learning Spanish, right? Which is a very reasonable use case. You just have your
Mm.
headphones in and you're speaking. People won't like think you're speaking Spanish, whatever, right? Uh, that's completely now available through like a GPT or even through without a GPT if the demo was valid. So it
Mm.
really feels like that this is for voice, which is your focus area now. Is it really feels like it unlocks so many things.
Yeah.
Um,
And then imagine or think about the fact that they are pairing it with a desktop app that can watch your work, so you can, no matter what you do, like
Yeah.
you're maybe you're in Excel updating sales figures for the month, you can have a conversation with ChatGPT at the same time, and
Yeah.
they can say, you can ask them, could you provide a code for, or the a function to update all the columns for to some new format or whatever. Like you
Mm.
can start co-creating with everything in the UI, which is probably the promise of the new Windows Copilot as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot, and yeah, I think that's huge actually.
Hmm.
Being able to have it present on your screen, I'm gonna start trying that out a bit more now. And
Mm,
also, like, I really think that someone will quite soon solve the kind of form factor of the narrative clip again, like having like
mm,
something here that doesn't record everything, so everyone, like, you need to build a brand around it so people know it's not recording, it's not taking
yeah.
pictures, but it's using that continuous stream of image data for you to be
Mm,
able to interact naturally with the world, the AI being able to see what you see,
mm,
maybe not remembering it, recording it, but something there will happen. Wouldn't be surprised if OpenAI do it, but already now, which what they demoed, being able to hold up the camera and being like, "What is
mm.
this?" or like what's happening here, or which way should I go?
Yeah.
These kind of things
Or
are going to
like
be there very quickly.
headphones with cameras on them. Like I think it was Meta that leaked the rumor about them creating that as a new form factor.
Oh wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense with little
Yes.
like
Yeah, because you already for in some way need to hear what the AI is saying, and they need to have eyes to just to compare that into one device, or one per ear.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many things happening now. It's gonna
Yeah.
be. I'm just hoping that like it doesn't all accrue to like the mega tech companies. Sometimes I think about this from like an investment perspective, and I'm
Hmm.
like, is this all gonna be Google, Microsoft, and Apple if they get their game together, which I think they will? Like,
Yeah.
is this all gonna be them? And maybe OpenAI, releases the phone and goes in that way together with
Hmm.
Windows, make some kind of project. I wouldn't be surprised actually if the
Yeah.
Windows phone comes back as something, or the OpenAI phone or whatever, which in
Yeah.
a very new way. But
But just to get like lift your spirits, can really recommend, like you have a Mac, right? I can really recommend to download Olama, and which is a sort of an LLM backend for your laptop, and you don't need need a GP2 a GPU. You just it just runs on your M2 chips, or your M3 or M4, whatever you have.
okay,
And then there's a front end called Enchanted, which is a desktop app and mobile app. And then you can just it is actually a kind of cool feeling to know that you're talking to an LLM running on your own laptop locally.
yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
definitely the future. That's a
yeah,
completely different feeling. It's like
yeah,
this is mine, this is my data, and that's where I
yeah,
think Apple has the most credibility
yeah.
and the best
And then
infrastructure.
you talk to Llama 3 on your laptop,
Yeah,
and you know that I can bring this on a plane, or I can bring it in the forest, or I can disconnect from the internet, and it's still here with me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Next steps, but yeah, okay. So we're running up on the time,
Yes.
but fun
Yeah.
chatting. Lots of stuff happening as always.
Definitely. Thank you so much, and thank you to the listener. See you in the next episode.
Bye, Martin.
Bye.